She rejected me. Then 6 years later she come back begging. I was mistake. Please help me. Dr. Marcus Chen stood outside the massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber. His hand shook as he held his data pad. Inside that chamber were the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Today, he would present his life's work to them. Marcus was only 32 years old. Most humans never got to speak at the Galactic Council until they were much older. But his research was special. He had discovered something that could change how the galaxy restored dead planets. The doors opened with a soft hiss. Marcus walked into the chamber. The room was huge. The ceiling stretched so high that clouds formed near the top. Around him sat representatives from hundreds of different alien species. At the center of the chamber sat the Environmental Restoration Committee. They were the experts who decided how to bring life back to dead worlds. The committee was led by Zerlin, a Valarian scientist. Zerlin was beautiful in an alien way. Her skin looked like living crystal. It changed colors as light hit it from different angles. She was over 100 years old, which was still young for her species. She had been studying environmental science since before Marcus was born. Dr. Chen of Earth. Zerlin's voice echoed through the chamber. You may begin your presentation. Marcus activated his data pad. Holographic images filled the air above him. The first image showed a dead planet. The ground was cracked and brown. No plants grew anywhere. Honored council members, Marcus began. His voice was quiet at first, then grew stronger. I want to talk about a new way to bring life back to dead worlds. The aliens in the chamber made various sounds. Some whispered to each other in languages Marcus could not understand. Others seemed bored already. Marcus continued. For the past 50 years, the galaxy has used the Valarian method for terraforming. This method removes all existing life forms. Then it adds new ones that scientists have chosen. A hologram showed the Valarian process. Machines sprayed chemicals that killed everything on a planet's surface. Then ships arrived with carefully selected plants and animals. Everything was planned and controlled. This method works, Marcus said. But I believe there is a better way. Zerlin leaned forward. Her crystal skin turned a deeper blue color. Dr. Chen. The Valarian method has restored over 3,000 worlds. It is proven science. Yes, it works, Marcus agreed. But it creates worlds that are empty. They have life, but not real life. Not natural life. Murmurs filled the chamber. Some aliens sounded angry. Others seemed confused. Marcus activated another hologram. This one showed tiny organisms. They were so small they could barely be seen. These are microorganisms. They exist on almost every planet. The Valarian method kills them all. But I think we should work with them instead. Work with bacteria. Zerlin's voice carried surprise and something else. Something that sounded like disgust. Yes, Marcus said. He was getting excited now. These small life forms know their planets better than we do. They have lived there for millions of years. If we partner with them, they can teach us how to restore their worlds properly. Marcus showed images from his test sites on Earth's moon colonies. Dead ground slowly turning green. Plants growing in patterns that looked random, but were actually very organized. I call it symbiotic terraforming, Marcus explained. Instead of fighting against the planet's natural systems, we become part of them. We listen to what the planet needs. We work together with all life forms, even the smallest ones. The chamber fell silent. Marcus could hear his own heartbeat. Then Zerlin started to laugh. It was not a kind laugh. It was the laugh of someone who thought they had heard something very silly. Dr. Chen, Zerlin said, standing up. Her crystal skin was now bright red. Are you seriously suggesting that we should ask bacteria for advice? More laughter filled the chamber. Aliens from dozens of species joined in. Marcus felt his face turn red with embarrassment. Humans, said another committee member, a tall blue alien with 4 arms, always so emotional. Always thinking with their hearts instead of their brains. Zerlin walked closer to Marcus. Dr. Chen, terraforming is serious science. It requires precision. It requires control. Your emotional approach might work for small projects, but real terraforming needs real science. But the results speak for themselves, Marcus said. His voice was getting smaller. The diversity of life, the stability of the ecosystems. Coincidence, Zerlin cut him off. Any first-year student could achieve similar results with proper Valarian techniques. The chamber erupted in agreement. Aliens nodded their various heads. Some made clicking sounds, others hummed in harmony. The committee rejects your proposal, Zerlin announced. Symbiotic terraforming is not science. It is wishful thinking. It is human sentimentality dressed up as research. Marcus felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. Years of work, thousands of hours of research, all dismissed in minutes. Furthermore, Zerlin continued, I recommend that Dr. Chen complete additional training in established terraforming methods. Before presenting to this council again, the recording devices in the chamber captured everything. Within hours, Marcus knew his rejection would be broadcast across the galaxy. He would become a joke, the human who thought bacteria could teach scientists. Marcus gathered his datapad. With shaking hands, as he walked toward the exit, he could still hear aliens laughing behind him. At the chamber doors, Marcus turned back one last time. Zerlin was already discussing the next presentation with her committee. She had forgotten about him completely. The doors closed behind Marcus with a final hiss. He was alone in the corridor outside. His footsteps echoed as he walked away from the chamber, on the transport ship back to Earth. Marcus stared out at the stars. His research was solid. His results were real. But nobody in the galaxy wanted to listen to a young human who thought differently. Marcus made a promise to himself as the ship jumped to hyperspace. He would prove them wrong. He would show the galaxy that humans understood something about life, that all their advanced science had missed. He would prove that sometimes the best solutions came, not from control, but from cooperation, not from domination, but from harmony. The galaxy would learn. Someday, they would need what only humans could offer. And when that day came, Marcus would be ready. 6 years had passed since Marcus Chen's humiliation at the Galactic Council. The galaxy had mostly forgotten about the young human scientist and his strange ideas about bacteria. But Marcus had not forgotten. He stood on the observation deck of colony ship Aurora, looking down at the planet below. The world was called Kepler-4 to see. 3 years ago, it had been completely dead. Now, green patches covered nearly half of its surface. Dr. Chen, called a voice behind him. Marcus turned to see Sarah Martinez, his research partner. She was carrying a datapad and smiling. The latest soil samples are incredible. The nitrogen levels are perfect for the next phase. Marcus smiled back. Sarah was one of the few scientists who had believed in his work from the beginning. When the Galactic Council rejected his ideas, she had volunteered to join his small team on the frontier worlds. How many species are we tracking now? Marcus asked. Over 3,000. Sarah replied, and that's just the ones we can identify. The underground fungal networks are creating connections we never expected. Marcus nodded. This was exactly what he had tried to explain to Zerlin and the Galactic Council. Life found ways to work together that no scientist could plan. They just had to listen and learn. The team had started small. Just Marcus, Sarah, and 12 other humans willing to try something different. The Galactic Council had given them the worst assignments. Dead worlds that everyone else had given up on. Planets that were too damaged or too strange for traditional. TRAFO or MING. Marcus walked through the ship's corridors toward the laboratory. Along the way, he passed crew members from the 3 successful colony worlds his team had restored. They called him Doc and always had stories about the amazing things happening on their planets. In the laboratory, the rest of his team was gathered around a holographic display. The display showed real-time data from all 3 restored worlds. New Eden is showing amazing progress, reported Dr. James Park, the team's biologist. The original microorganisms have created partnerships with our introduced species. They're evolving together faster than any models predicted. Marcus looked at the data from New Eden. It had been their first success, a world destroyed by asteroid impacts where nothing had grown for 10,000 years. Traditional terraforming said it would take centuries to restore. Marcus's team had brought it back to life in just 2 years. "What about Haven?" Marcus asked. "Even better," said Dr. Lisa Thompson, their soil specialist. "The native fungal networks have spread across the entire continent. They're actually helping our plants grow stronger than they ever did in laboratory conditions." Haven had been their most challenging project. The planet's soil was poisoned with heavy metals that killed most life forms. But Marcus had discovered that certain bacteria could actually eat those metals. Instead of removing the poison, they had worked with the bacteria to clean it naturally. In Harmony, Marcus asked about their newest success. "The singing crystals are working perfectly with the root systems," Sarah reported. "It's like the whole planet is becoming one giant organism." Harmony had been declared impossible by 3 different galactic council teams. The planet had strange crystal formations that made loud noises. Most terraformers tried to destroy the crystals. But Marcus realized the crystals were actually part of the planet's natural communication system. Plants and crystals were talking to each other, while Marcus's small team celebrated their successes on forgotten worlds. The galaxy faced a growing crisis. The news reports were getting worse every day. Marcus activated the main communication screen. A galactic news network anchor appeared, her blue face serious with concern. "The situation on the sanctuary worlds continues to worsen," the anchor reported. 3 more precious species went extinct this week. The Valarian Restoration Committee admits they are running out of options. The screen showed images of dying worlds. These were not ordinary planets. The sanctuary worlds housed the galaxy's most important and rare species, plants and animals that existed nowhere else. Losing them would be like losing irreplaceable treasures. On Lyris Prime, the last breeding pair of ethereal singers has stopped producing offspring. The anchor continued. "Scientists fear these magnificent creatures, whose songs have inspired poetry across the galaxy for millennia, may be extinct within the year." Marcus had heard of ethereal singers. They were beautiful bird-like creatures whose songs could be heard across entire continents. Their music was so complex that some species used it for meditation and healing. The news switched to an interview with Zerilyn. She looked older now and tired. Her crystal skin was a dull gray color instead of the bright blue Marcus remembered. "We have tried every known restoration technique," Zerilyn said to the interviewer. "Our best scientists from dozens of species are working on this problem, but these ancient ecosystems are more complex than anything we have encountered before. Is there any hope?" the interviewer asked. Zerilyn paused for a long time. We are exploring all possibilities." Marcus could see the defeat in her eyes. The proud Valarian scientist, who had once dismissed human ideas, was now facing the failure of everything she believed in. "Turn it off," Marcus said quietly. Sarah switched off the screen. The laboratory fell silent. Everyone was thinking the same thing. "We should help them," Sarah said finally. "They made it clear they don't want our help," Dr. Park replied. "Remember what they called us, emotional primitives. That was 6 years ago," Dr. Thompson added. "Maybe they've learned something since then." Marcus walked to the window and looked out at Kepler 4 to see again. Down there, millions of life forms were working together in ways that no advanced alien science could have planned. Bacteria were teaching plants how to grow in strange soil. Fungi were connecting forests across continents. Everything was alive and helping everything else. "We're not ready yet," Marcus said. "Our methods work on dead worlds and poisoned worlds. But the sanctuary worlds are different. They're not dead. They're dying. And they're much more complex than anything we've worked with. But our approach might be exactly what they need," Sarah argued. "Instead of trying to control ancient ecosystems, we could learn to work with them." Marcus nodded slowly. She was right. But he also knew that charging in without preparation could make things worse. If they failed, it wouldn't just hurt their reputation. Irreplaceable species would die forever. "Keep monitoring the situation," Marcus told his team, "and keep working on our current projects. If the galaxy ever needs what we've learned, we need to be ready to give them our best." As his team returned to their work, Marcus stayed at the window, somewhere in the galaxy. Ancient species were dying while the most advanced scientists in known space stood helpless, but on 3 forgotten worlds. Life was flourishing because humans had learned to listen instead of control. The galaxy would learn eventually. Marcus just hoped it wouldn't be too late. Marcus was examining soil samples in his laboratory when the emergency communication signal started blinking. The red light meant someone was trying to reach him directly from Galactic Council space. That had not happened in 6 years. Sarah looked up from her microscope. Who would be calling us from the council? Marcus activated the communication system. The holographic projector flickered to life, and a familiar figure appeared in the room. It was Zerilyn, but she looked very different from the proud scientist. Marcus remembered. Her crystal skin was pale and cracked. Dark lines ran across her face like scars. She looked like she had not slept in weeks. Her hands were shaking as she spoke. Dr. Chen, Zerilyn's voice was barely a whisper. I need to talk to you. Marcus felt his heart beating faster. The woman who had humiliated him in front of the entire galaxy was standing in his laboratory, looking broken and desperate. Zerilyn. Marcus said carefully, "It's been a long time. I know this is unexpected," she continued. "I know I have no right to contact you after what happened, but I need your help. The galaxy needs your help." Sarah and the other team members gathered around the hologram. They had all heard the stories about Marcus's rejection. They knew who this alien was. "The sanctuary worlds are dying faster than we predicted," Zerilyn explained. Her voice was getting stronger, but Marcus could hear the panic underneath. "We have lost 17 species in the past month. Ancient life forms that took millions of years to evolve are disappearing forever." Marcus said nothing. He waited for her to continue. "Lyra's prime is the worst," Zerilyn went on. "The ethereal singers are down to their last breeding pair. But it's not just them. The entire planet's ecosystem is collapsing. Every day, we lose more species." The hologram changed to show images from Lyra's prime. Marcus had never seen anything so beautiful or so sad. The planet had once been covered in silver forests and crystal lakes. Now, vast areas were turning brown and gray. Dead trees stretched toward a cloudy sky. "We have tried everything," Zerilyn said. Her crystal skin was now flickering between colors rapidly, showing her emotional distress. 43 different restoration techniques, teams from 18 species. The most advanced technology in the galaxy. Nothing works. Marcus watched the images of the dying world. He could see the problem immediately. The Valarian teams were trying to save individual species. They were not looking at the connections between different life forms. "Every time we try to help one species, 3 others get worse," Zerilyn continued. "It's like the planet is fighting against our efforts, like it wants to die." "Planets don't want to die," Marcus said quietly. "They want to live, but they need to live in their own way." Zerilyn looked directly at Marcus through the hologram. Her crystal eyes were filled with tears. "I was mistake. Please help me." The words hung in the air. Marcus felt something twist in his chest. 6 years ago, this woman had called his work human sentimentality. She had made him a laughing stock across the galaxy. Now she was begging for his help. "I know what I said before was wrong," Zerilyn continued. "I called your methods primitive. I said humans were too emotional to understand real science. I was arrogant." Sarah stepped forward. "Dr. Chen, the sanctuary worlds house species that exist nowhere else in the galaxy. If they die, they're gone forever." Marcus nodded. He understood what was at stake, but he also understood something else. "Zerilyn, why are you calling me directly? Why not go through official channels?" Zerilyn's skin turned a deep purple color. "Because the Galactic Council would never officially ask for human help. Too much pride. Too much bureaucracy. By the time they made a decision, everything would be dead." "And what makes you think I can help?" Marcus asked. "Your committee rejected my methods. They said symbiotic terraforming was not real science." "Because I've been watching your work," Zerilyn admitted. "We all have. 3 dead worlds brought back to life using methods we said were impossible. Species diversity that exceeds anything we've achieved. Ecosystems that are actually stronger than they were before." Marcus felt surprised. You've been watching us. Every scientist in the galaxy has been watching you, Zerlin said, quietly, unofficially. We were too proud to admit it publicly, but your results speak for themselves. The hologram showed new images. These were from Marcus's restored worlds: green forests, clear lakes, animals playing in meadows. The contrast with the dying sanctuary worlds was obvious. Your symbiotic approach might be the only thing that can save Lyris Prime, Zerlin continued. Traditional methods try to control ecosystems, but these ancient worlds are too complex for control. They need partnership. Marcus looked at his team. They were all watching him carefully, waiting for his decision. Dr. Chen, Zerlin said, her voice breaking. I swallowed my pride to make this call. I'm admitting that everything I believed about terraforming was wrong. I'm asking a human for help because humans understand something we don't. And what is that? Marcus asked. That life finds a way to work together if we let it, Zerlin replied. That cooperation is stronger than control. That listening is more powerful than commanding. Marcus walked to the window and looked out at Kepler 4 to see. Down there, his symbiotic terraforming was creating wonders that no traditional method could achieve. But the sanctuary worlds would be much more challenging. If I agreed to help, Marcus said slowly, I work my way. No interference from the council. No demands to use traditional methods alongside mine. Agreed, Zerlin said immediately. And I bring my own team. These people have worked with me for years. They understand symbiotic principles, of course. And when this is over, the galaxy acknowledges that humans contributed something valuable. No more calling us primitive or emotional. Zerlin was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. Dr. Chen, if you can save the sanctuary worlds, I will personally ensure that the galaxy knows humans are not primitive. You are teachers we should have listened to long ago. Marcus turned back to the hologram. Send us everything you have on Lyris Prime, every scan, every analysis, every failed attempt. We'll need to understand what we're dealing with. I'll transmit the data immediately, Zerlin said. Relief was clear in her voice. And Zerlin, Marcus added, this isn't about proving who was right or wrong. This is about saving a replaceable life. That's bigger than any of our egos. Zerlin's crystal skin brightened slightly. Thank you. Dr. Chen, you're being more generous than I deserve. After the communication ended, Sarah turned to Marcus. Are you sure about this? If we fail, it won't just hurt our reputation. Those species will be gone forever. Marcus nodded. That's exactly why we have to try. This is what we've been preparing for. The galaxy needs what humans have learned about cooperation. As his team began preparing for their most important mission, Marcus felt both excited and scared. They were about to face the greatest challenge of their lives, but they were also about to show the galaxy what humans could really do. Marcus stood on the surface of Lyris Prime, breathing through a protective mask. The air was thick with the smell of decay. Around him stretched what had once been the most beautiful world in the galaxy. Now it looked like a graveyard. Dead silver trees reached toward the gray sky like skeletal fingers. The crystal lakes that had once sparkled with life were now dark and still. In the distance, Marcus could hear the faint, sad song of the last. To ethereal singers, the readings are worse than I expected, Sarah said, checking her scanner. 90% of the microbial life is gone. The soil chemistry is completely broken. Marcus knelt down and picked up a handful of dirt. It crumbled in his fingers like ash. The Velaryon team sterilized too much. They killed the foundation that everything else depended on. Behind them, Zerlin watched with a team of the galaxy's best scientists. They had been working on Lyris Prime for 2 years with no success. Now they were watching a small group of humans try something completely different. Dr. Chen called Dr. Vexstar, a tall alien with purple skin. Our analysis shows the soil needs complete replacement. We have prepared synthetic nutrients that can know. Marcus interrupted gently. We're not replacing anything. We're healing what's already here. Dr. Vexstar looked confused. But there's nothing left to heal. The soil is dead. Marcus smiled and opened a small container he had brought from his ship. Inside was ordinary-looking dirt from New Eden. one of his restored worlds. This soil contains over 3 million different microorganisms, Marcus explained. They've learned to work together in ways that no laboratory can recreate. We're going to introduce them to Lyris Prime and let them teach the local organisms how to live again. Zerlin stepped forward. Dr. Chen, we tried introducing new microorganisms 2 months ago. They all died within days. Because you tried to replace the local life, Marcus replied. We're going to partner with it. Marcus spread the soil from New Eden in a small circle. Then he did something that shocked the alien scientists. He began adding samples of the dead Lyris Prime soil to the circle, mixing them together with his bare hands. The New Eden organisms will act as teachers, Marcus explained as he worked. They'll show the Lyris Prime microbes how to rebuild their connections, how to remember what they used to be. Dr. Park joined Marcus and began setting up monitoring equipment around the mixed soil. In our experience, dead microorganisms often aren't completely dead. They're just sleeping, waiting for the right conditions to wake up. The alien scientists exchanged skeptical glances. This approach went against everything they had learned about microbiology. Now we wait, Marcus said, standing up and brushing dirt from his hands. Wait for what? Zerlin asked. For them to start talking to each other. While the microorganisms did their work, Marcus explored more of the dying planet. He found the last pair of ethereal singers in a grove of dying crystal trees. The creatures were beautiful, with feathers that shimmered like starlight and voices that could make grown aliens cry. But they were clearly sick. Their songs were short and weak. They stayed close together, afraid and confused. They used to sing for hours, Zerlin said sadly. Their music could be heard across the entire continent. Now they barely make any sound at all. Marcus listened carefully to the singers' weak calls. There was something familiar about the pattern. Sarah, bring the soil analysis equipment here. Sarah arrived with a device that could detect chemical signals in the ground. As Marcus scanned the area around the singers, his eyes widened with understanding. That's it, he whispered. The singers aren't just making music. They're talking. Talking to what? Zerlin asked. Marcus pointed to the dying crystal trees. To them, and through them, to the entire planet. Marcus explained his discovery to the gathered scientists. The ethereal singers' songs contained complex chemical information. When they sang, the crystal trees absorbed the vibrations and converted them into signals that traveled through underground root networks. The singers were the planet's communication system. Marcus said excitedly. They told every part of the ecosystem what was happening everywhere else. When the microorganisms died, the communication network broke down. The singers kept trying to talk, but no one could hear them anymore. Dr. Thompson arrived with exciting news from their soil experiment. The mixing is working. The New Eden microorganisms are waking up dormant life in the Lyris Prime soil. We're seeing new bacterial colonies forming. Marcus felt hope growing in his chest. How long until they're strong enough to reconnect with the crystal trees? At this rate, maybe 3 days, Dr. Thompson replied. But 3 days might be too long. The ethereal singers were getting weaker. If they died before the communication network was restored, the planet would lose its voice forever. Marcus made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. He walked up to the nearest crystal tree and placed his hands on its smooth surface. What are you doing? Zerlin asked. Listening, Marcus replied. The tree felt cold and lifeless under his hands. But Marcus had learned to be patient. He had learned to wait for life to speak in its own way. After several minutes, Marcus felt something, a tiny vibration, so small he almost missed it. The tree was still alive, but barely. Sarah, bring the portable soil samples over here, Marcus called. We're going to give this tree some friends to talk to. Marcus's team worked quickly, spreading samples of the healing soil around the base of the crystal tree. They watered it carefully and added nutrients that would help the microorganisms grow faster. If this works, Sarah said, the tree should start responding to the singers again within hours instead of days. As the sun set over Lyris Prime, something amazing happened. The crystal tree began to glow with a soft, warm light. The light pulsed in rhythm with the ethereal singers' calls. It's working, Zerilyn breathed. The tree is listening to them again. The singers seemed to sense the change immediately. Their calls became stronger and more complex. The tree's glow brightened, and vibrations began traveling through the ground toward other trees. The network is reconnecting, Dr. Park reported, watching his instruments with amazement. Chemical signals are spreading across the grove. Within hours, a dozen crystal trees were glowing and responding to the singers' calls. The birds themselves seemed to grow stronger as their voices were heard again. Marcus watched the light spreading across the landscape like stars coming to life. Each glowing tree represented a small victory against extinction. Dr. Chen, Zerilyn said quietly, I understand now what you meant about partnership. You didn't try to fix the planet. You helped it remember how to fix itself. Marcus nodded. That's what humans do best. We listen. We learn. We help others find their own strength. As the night deepened, the song of the ethereal singers grew stronger. Their voices carried across the awakening landscape, telling every living thing on Lyris Prime that hope had returned. The planet was beginning to remember how to live. Part 5, Recognition and Redemption. 3 months later, Marcus stood in the same crystal grove where he had first touched the dying tree. But everything was different now. The grove was alive with color and sound. Silver trees stretched toward the sky, their leaves catching sunlight and turning it into rainbow patterns. Crystal lakes sparkled with clean water, and everywhere, the songs of ethereal singers filled the air. Not just 2 singers anymore. Dozens of them. The breeding pair had produced their first offspring in 3 years, and other singers thought lost forever had emerged from hidden places across the planet. The population count is now at 47, Sarah reported, watching a group of young singers learn to harmonize with their parents, and growing every week. Marcus smiled as he watched the birds. Their songs were more complex than anything the galaxy had ever recorded. They were teaching the planet's recovering ecosystem how to grow stronger and more diverse. Dr. Chen called a familiar voice. Marcus turned to see Zerilyn approaching. She looked completely different from the broken woman who had begged for his help. Her crystal skin was bright and healthy, glowing with natural blue and green colors. The latest reports are incredible, Zerilyn said, holding a data pad. Species we thought were extinct are reappearing. Plants that haven't grown in decades are sprouting everywhere. The biodiversity index is higher than it was before the crisis began. Marcus nodded. Life finds a way when we give it the chance. Behind Zerilyn came a group of alien scientists from dozens of different species. Marcus recognized some of them from news broadcasts. They were the most respected researchers in the galaxy, and they had all come to Lyris Prime to see the restoration for themselves. Dr. Chen, said Dr. Vexstar, the purple-skinned alien who had doubted Marcus's methods, I owe you an apology. Your symbiotic approach has achieved what our most advanced technologies could not. Other aliens murmured their agreement. Marcus saw respect in their eyes instead of the mockery he remembered from 6 years ago. We all owe Dr. Chen more than apologies, Zerilyn announced. We owe him recognition for saving a replaceable life. A communication device activated, and a holographic image filled the grove. It was the Supreme Council chamber, with representatives from across the galaxy watching the restoration site. Dr. Marcus Chen of Earth came in official voice. The Galactic Council formally recognizes your achievement in restoring Lyris Prime and saving the ethereal singers from extinction. Marcus felt his heart beating faster. This was the same chamber where he had been humiliated 6 years ago. Furthermore, the voice continued, the Council establishes the Symbiotic Restoration Corps, with Dr. Chen as its first director. This new organization will use human-developed cooperation methods to restore the remaining sanctuary worlds. Cheers erupted from the alien scientists in the grove. Even the ethereal singers seemed to celebrate, their songs becoming more joyful and complex. But Marcus raised his hand for silence. Thank you for this honor, but I want to make something clear. This isn't about humans being better than other species. This is about all of us learning to work together. Marcus gestured to his team, who had gathered around him. Sarah Martinez developed the soil mixing techniques, James Park figured out how to accelerate microorganism growth. Lisa Thompson created the nutrient formulas. This was never the work of one person. He then pointed to Zerilyn and the other alien scientists. And we learned just as much from studying your research. Your detailed analysis of ecosystem connections helped us understand what was broken. Your monitoring equipment showed us where life was hiding. Zerilyn stepped forward. Dr. Chen is being modest. But he's also right about cooperation. I spent my career trying to control nature. Humans taught us something more powerful, how to listen to nature and help it heal itself. The holographic council representative spoke again. Dr. Chen, will you accept the position of director of the symbiotic restoration course? Marcus looked. Around the grove, young singers were learning to fly between the crystal trees. Flowers were blooming in patterns that no scientists had planned, but that looked perfect anyway. The whole planet was alive with possibility. I accept, Marcus said, but only if the course includes scientists from all species. Humans have good ideas about cooperation, but we don't have all the answers. We need everyone's knowledge. Agreed, the council representative replied. The course will be truly galactic in scope. After the official ceremony ended, Marcus found himself alone with Zerilyn beside one of the crystal lakes. The water was so clear they could see fish swimming deep below the surface. I never asked, Zerilyn said quietly. Why did you help me? After what I did to you 6 years ago, you could have refused. You could have let me fail. Marcus picked up a smooth stone and skipped it across the lake. Because that's what humans do. We help, even when we've been hurt. We believe people can change and grow. I certainly have. Zerilyn admitted. Working with your team taught me that science isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being humble enough to learn from everyone, even microorganisms. Marcus smiled. That's the hardest lesson for any scientist. I struggled with it too, in the beginning. What's next for the course? Zerilyn asked. Marcus pointed to the sky, where stars were becoming visible in the evening light. 12 more sanctuary worlds need help. Each one will teach us something new about cooperation and healing. And you need a good deputy director, Zerilyn said hopefully. Marcus looked at her in surprise. You want to join the course? If you'll have me, Zerilyn replied. I spent my career thinking I knew everything about restoration. Now I want to spend the rest of it learning your way, the right way. Marcus extended his hand in the human gesture of friendship. Zerilyn took it, her crystal skin warming at the contact. Welcome to the team, Marcus said as they shook hands. The ethereal singers began their evening concert. Their voices rose in harmony, carrying across the restored landscape and up toward the stars. The song was heard on ships throughout the system, bringing hope to everyone who listened. The news of Lyris Prime's restoration spread across the galaxy within days. On 1,000 worlds, scientists began studying human cooperation methods. The phrase symbiotic approach became common in laboratories everywhere. But for Marcus, the greatest satisfaction came from watching the singers teach their young ones to harmonize with the crystal trees. Life was teaching life how to flourish, exactly as it should be, standing in the grove where it all began. Marcus realized that his rejection 6 years ago had led him to exactly where he needed to be. Sometimes the greatest gifts come disguised as the worst failures. The galaxy had finally learned to listen, and in learning to listen, they had discovered that the universe was far more wonderful than any of them had ever imagined. The ethereal singers' voices rose toward the stars, carrying a message of hope and healing to every corner of the cosmos. Life would always find a way, as long as someone was willing to help it remember how.